Hello class, my name is Professor Raymond Wafula Ungus, and I'm going to teach the Organization of Knowledge, Cataloguing, which is a sequel to another unit called Organization of Knowledge Classification. The unit code for Organization of Knowledge Cataloguing is BIT2108. As a lesson overview, we will recap the relevant terminology that is useful for this lesson. We'll see why it is necessary to organize information resources and knowledge assets. And then we'll look at methods and tools for organizing information resources. Then we look at classification and subject heading lists. Then penultimately, we'll look at library cataloging concepts, then finish with the online public access catalogs. Let's recap a few terminologies that are used in this lesson. We'll look at the continuum of understanding. Data becomes information and then knowledge and wisdom through a continuum. When data is collected about events, that is called researching. Then as the data is collected and absorbed, it is processed and becomes information. Then, when information is accumulated and processed further, it changes to knowledge. And this knowledge is the one that helps you to do something or to carry out something. Then it goes on to wisdom, which involves interacting and a lot of reflection. As the continuum continues from data to wisdom, it gains more and more context, and we'll talk about it in the next slide. Now, data is a collection of records concerning phenomena or events that have already occurred. It has no intrinsic meaning, neither does it have context. You can't tell which context the data is. Data is the first building block in the process of extracting information. And data comes about through research, creation, gathering, and discovery. Now, after getting the data, it has to be, its value has to be added. And that value addition is called processing of the data. So data, the next stage of data, when it has added value, is information. And information is the next step in the process, which is to give the data meaning and transform it from data into information. This involves sorting it, processing it, summarizing it, and also presenting it in a format which brings substance to that data. And when that is done, the information can be used for decision making and problem solving. Now, the next stage is knowledge in the hierarchy. Knowledge is the process by which we put information to use. Knowledge is acquired through training, practice, constant practice, and experience. So, whereas information is used for a particular time, that means information is static, knowledge is dynamic and always adds on to the existing knowledge. Okay? Knowledge also is domiciled within our minds. It stays within our minds, and it keeps on being accumulated and refined with the time. And whatever knowledge we cannot store in our mind is stored in what we call knowledge reservoirs, which we'll look at later. Then finally, wisdom. Wisdom is the ultimate step, and the point is the highest level of human understanding, whereby a person who is highly knowledgeable can be able to design for the future without getting into the mistakes of the past. Now, what I've just explained is visualized in this data, information, knowledge, and wisdom diagram, which is also known as the knowledge management cognitive pyramid. So knowledge data begins at the base, where you see the focus is collection, processing, dissemination, storing, displaying, and protecting. And as it goes up to knowledge, which is at the apex, the focus is on creating, organizing, applying, and transferring. Now, there are two types of knowledge. There is explicit knowledge. Explicit means open. Then there is tacit knowledge, which is hidden knowledge. And using this diagram, we have the analogy of an iceberg. Most of the iceberg is under the water and cannot be seen, whereas the tip is the one that is exposed. So explicit knowledge is composed of data, information, documents, records, files, and we can go on to rules and regulations, laws, the Constitution. Everything that is formalized is explicit knowledge. Then there is tacit knowledge, the knowledge that is intrinsic. For example, experience, thinking, competence, commitment, and deed. These are very difficult to codify or to write down, because something like experience is very difficult to write down unless somebody puts it in writing. So the knowledge that is very easy to organize is the one that is explicit, the one that is written down, and it is codified. We'll look at this gentleman. He is called Ranganathan, Dr. S.R. Ranganathan. He came up with 5 laws of library science. And the laws are as follows. Books are for use. Every reader, his or her book. Every book, its reader. Save the time of the reader. And the library is a growing organism. Now, it is plain knowledge that library is no longer the only source of information. With the internet, with the advent of the internet and other electronic means, these rules have had to be modified. And they can be modified for the contemporary application as follows. The first rule becomes information is for use. The second rule becomes every user needs information. The third rule becomes all information has a user. The fourth rule is save the time of the user. And the fifth one is information always grows, or the information world is a growing organism. Now, for the purpose of information or knowledge organization, we'll find that rule number 4 and number 5 apply, in that if you organize information, it greatly saves the time of the user in locating the information resources that they require. And as you organize the information, you keep accumulating more and more information as it comes. So it is the one that we'll find very useful for this lesson. So we'll look at information in today's world. Users today can obtain access to information from a variety of sources through various sources, both electronic and print-based. One of the major challenges is how best to organize these information resources so that the user can find it easy to locate. And whatever mechanism we come up with has to be user-friendly. That means the user does not need a lot of training to be able to locate the information that they want. Access to information services, current information services. Users can access information resources and services through a variety of channels. For example, libraries have OPACs, that is online public access catalogs. And then there is also online or full text retrieval of bibliographic data, e-books, e-journals, as well as tabulated data. Then there are websites, including social media sites using web search engines and web directories. There are also subject gateways to provide access to selective resources in one or more specific discipline. For example, the disciplines of health have specific gateways for getting information. And also the same applies to agriculture and other fields, engineering. Okay? There are several subject gateways that are available online that users who are professionals in that area can use to retrieve information that they need. Then finally, we have digital libraries and so on. Information and knowledge organization. This entails the process and practices of describing and representing information objects which contain information and their content, as well as the knowledge reservoirs which knowledge is preserved. Knowledge reservoirs include books, databases, and so on. Okay. It involves identifying the connections and relationships between the objects and the people responsible for their creation and production. The organization is fundamentally about making it easier for a user to access the required information or knowledge asset. Why should we organize information resources and knowledge assets? There are several reasons why we have to organize information and knowledge assets. The first thing is to create order from chaos. You know, information, the whole world consists of information currently. And you can imagine if information is not organized, there would be total chaos. For example, if you went to a supermarket and you found all the goods and the products are mixed up on the floor, and you wanted a particular item, it would take you a long time to retrieve that item if the supermarket is not organized in a certain way. The same thing with the world of information. If information is totally jumbled up, it will take ages for you to retrieve a particular item that you need. So information organization is for the purpose of creating order from chaos. Then the next one is to find out what we need more efficiently, and then to manage a large collection of items. If the items that you will require, like for example, if you have a shelf of books of maybe 10 books, you can memorize them without a problem. And you can be able to retrieve the book that you want without a problem. But if they are in a library of 500,000 copies, then there is a problem. Unless that process is mechanized, then to retrieve a single item will be a problem. And not only that, to get the information within that particular item will be a problem unless it is organized. Then the next thing is to create better and more efficient ways to find information required. Then to help users to gain access to the information. Then the next point is to facilitate information easy identification and retrieval. Then to find the information easily once you want to return to it. And then to save the user's time. This is where Ranganatha's fourth law, modified law, comes in. Then to add value to the information by organizing it. Then to motivate users to continue using information, since better information organization systems respond to users. Users like where things are orderly and organized. In the information science profession, it is all about organization of information and order. Why do we do that? So that we make the information users' life easy. Now, another reason is that it is a professional service trait to help and connect users with the relevant information that they need to solve a problem or to come up with a solution of whatever is confronting them. Then to help users to decide between several items. Specifically, cataloging involves description of various items, and if users are confused between two plausible information resource materials that they need, then cataloging will help them to make a decision on which one applies to them. Then professionals do this through the representations they create, such as catalogs, indexes, and other finding aids. How are information resources and knowledge assets organized? The how of information and knowledge organization is the way that value is added to the items that contain the information or knowledge. Nowadays, people want direct information. So if you can be able to organize the information in such a manner that somebody can immediately identify the information that they want, that would be very, very critical and very helpful to them. And that adds value to the information resources. So we have organized it in such a way that users will be satisfied and return again and again for information services. We organize information by representing it. Now, that's why when you go to places like libraries and information centers, they used to have cards. Each card represents a book on the shelf. But now they have records. Each record, electronic record on the computer, would stand for one material on the shelf. And within them, there are different fields representing different aspects of the information resource material. So that's how we'll represent, and we'll see it as we go along. Now, the metadata is used to represent information resource, the attributes about an information resource. Metadata is a description, a description of an item. For example, a book has an author, a title, a publisher, year of publication, a place of publication, and so on. All those are attributes of the book, and they can be used to describe it. Using the analogy of the supermarket, supposing you identified something like a juice that you want to buy. It has the expiry date, the date of manufacture, it has the name, it has the quantity, and the price. Those are they are attributes that can be used to describe the type of juice that you want to buy. Okay, so the metadata is the description or the representation of an item in a collection. Now, another name for metadata is data. Another meaning for metadata is data about data. And we shall look at it in other lessons to come. Now, the next thing we'll discuss is the methods and tools for organizing information resources. Now, focusing on library cataloging, there are several classification schemes that are necessary for doing the job. Cataloging is not just done haphazardly. There are some standards and some rules that are supposed to be followed to the letter when doing the job. Now, some of these classification schemes are Library of Congress classification scheme, which is commonly known as LC. Then there's the Dewey Decimal classification scheme, which is known as DDC. Then there's the Universal Decimal classification scheme, which is UDC, which is somehow related to DDC. Then Professor Ranganathan came up with his own classification scheme that is commonly used in India, and is the Colon classification scheme. Library of Congress classification scheme is commonly used in very big libraries like university libraries, which have tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of books and other materials. Then DDC is used for smaller libraries which have a wide range of readership. Now, another thing is cataloging. For cataloging, we use the Anglo-American cataloging rules, second edition, which is revised, which is known as AACR2. Then we have library catalogs, including online public access catalogs. I'll talk about this later. They are abbreviated as OPACs. Then we have subject heading lists. For example, Library of Congress list of subject headings, which is LCSH, and Dewey. We also have Dewey and Sears list of subject headings, and so on. Library classification. I'll talk about classification a little bit because it is the one that precedes cataloging. So, library classification is the process of assigning elements or units to classes, subject classes, or types according to some criteria. The objects we classify have attributes with values. Attributes may, for example, be color, weight, or dimensions of the item. Let's say if it is a book. Library classifications are made by considering different attributes pertaining to the subject content of the information materials and the value of the knowledge assets. Library classification is done using any of the previously mentioned classification schemes, which are the manuals that you use to execute the job. Now, to assign subjects to information resource materials, you need manuals called subject heading lists. These subject heading lists give you the proper subject name to assign to an information resource material. And an information resource material need not contain only one subject. It could be a combination of subjects. So you derive those subjects from the subject heading list, which is a very important manual to use when classification. So library classification schemes help the user to find specific information resources. The universe of knowledge is divided into distinct subjects, which are subdivided into smaller subject areas. For example, the universe of knowledge is divided by the Library of Congress classification scheme into 21 different subjects. Dewey Decimal classification divides the universe of knowledge into 10 different subjects. And those 10 can be subdivided into smaller subject areas. So all these are systematically captured in subject heading lists. Now, we'll look at subject headings. These are defined terms which provide a verbal representation of their subjects and are used as index terms by users to facilitate their search. Then a subject heading is used to describe the subject of a document or a class of documents. They also provide the list of approved terms and therefore act as a controlled vocabulary tool. For example, if you want to talk about private urban transport, maybe it could be the desired term, which may stand for matatu in Kenya, and the same matatu is known as daladala in Tanzania. In Philippines, it is known as jeepneys. All those refer to the urban transport or semi-urban transport. So the subject heading unifies all those variants that may be there to refer to a certain concept. And that's why it's called a controlled vocabulary tool. So you drop those other terms and you use the term that is suggested by the subject heading list. The user can search by the subject heading for a subject such as commerce. And then the subject heading list will also go into the smaller aspects of commerce, for example, e-commerce and so on, and it tells you how you should represent it. Now we come to cataloging. Once you have finished classification, then you come to catalog. To catalog is actually to describe in a standard manner. So we'll define what cataloging is. A catalog is a list of contents of a particular collection of objects and is arranged in some definite order so as to facilitate the use of that collection and a guide to its scope and content. A library catalog, this is an American spelling without O and without U and E, or it's a catalog, this is the British spelling, is a register of all bibliographic items found in a library or group of libraries, such as a network of libraries at several locations. For example, Mount Kenya University has one main library and several branch libraries in the various campuses. A bibliographic item can be any information entity. For example, books, computer files, graphics, realia, that is, real artifacts, cartographic materials, and so on. That is considered library material. Note that cataloging is usually done after classification has been completed, not the other way around. There is a reason why. Because classification assigns a subject which is used to describe the material, and classification also assigns the call number and other numbers that are used to monitor the item. And all those are required in the catalog card. Origins of cataloging. The word catalog is derived from the Greek expression kata logos, meaning a complete list or register or enumeration of something. Professor S.R. Ranganathan, who was considered to be the father of library science in India, defined the term library catalog as a comprehensive organized list of all documents in a library or in a collection forming a portion of it. Outside the library scenario, a catalog is a complete list, a complete organized list of items and their description. But we will stick to the library science bit of it in this lecture. Cataloging and library catalogs. Cataloging is the action of preparing catalog entries in a catalog list. Why is this done? It is done to enable a person to find a book of which either author, title, or subject is known. Secondly, it is done to show what the library has for a given author on a given subject in a given type. Then thirdly, it is done to assist with the choice of the book by edition or by its character, literary or topical. In the library catalogs, it is important to know the location where it will be found, the physical characteristics, how big, how broad is it, circulation properties, how unique is it, how many copies are there, so that you know whether to restrict the circulation or to open it up. Or how special is it, because there are some materials that can be that selfish users can pack away with them, and so it needs more security. Now there are several forms of catalog, library catalog. We have the alphabetical catalog, the classified catalog, and then the hybrid of these two, the alphabetical classified catalog. Now, if I take the alphabetical catalog, you can have a catalog organized alphabetically in order of author. That is called an author catalog. A catalog that is organized alphabetically by name is called a name catalog. And a catalog that is organized alphabetically by title of the item is called the title catalog. Finally, a catalog that is organized alphabetically by subject is called the subject catalog. Now, this is an example of a catalog record. The catalog record contains metadata. This metadata is what I say that is used to describe the attributes of the information resource material. And the metadata that is captured here is the author, the title, the publisher, which includes the place of publication and the publisher. This is called the imprint. Then the call number, which is a unique number which is assigned to the information resource material. The subjects that are covered, like for this one is psychiatric hospital patients, and then the control number and so on. So those are items that can be captured in a catalog record. This is an actual catalog card that is generated by a system, which includes the name of the author, Ekel Bruce, then the title, Thinking in Java, and then the edition, which this is a second revised edition, and then the town, the city, Upper Saddle River, and the publisher, which is Prentice Hall, and so on. The year of publication, it is a CD-ROM, and it is 24 centimeters. These are the dimensions. And then as well as the ISBN number, the call number, and so on, and other identifiers. Those are all this information make up the metadata of the which is captured by the catalog card. Previously, we used to have catalog cards in cabinets, wooden cabinets like this. But with the advent of computerization and the increase of information resources, it had to be mechanized, and new catalog look like this. This is the electronic library catalog. You can see the metadata is captured here. These are the metadata areas captured, and these are the fields where information is entered. Now, we'll talk about the online public access catalog. An online public access catalog is often abbreviated as OPAC, OPAC, or simply library catalog. It is an online database of materials held by a library or a group of libraries. The word online is key. This word online is key in that online means that it is connected to a network. The information is accessed via a network. Not necessarily the internet, but via a network. It could be in a local area network, a wide area network, and so on. So users search in library catalogs principally to locate books and other materials available at a library. In simple language, it is an electronic version of the card catalog. OPAC is currently the gateway to a library's collection. An OPAC can be compared to a key. If you have a key that corresponds to a particular room, you can open and enter into the room and access the contents of the room. Without the key, you cannot access the contents of the room. And OPAC is like that. Where there is a collection, the only way to access the collection is through the OPAC, whereby you search for the information that you require, and you can be able to access the particular information resource material that you want at a click of a button. So in case the OPAC can be accessed via the internet, it's usually referred to as a web OPAC. Most libraries have their OPACs which are online, and they are accessed by the internet. Those are called web-based OPACs or web OPACs. Now, we'll summarize this lesson. We have looked at a number of issues here, and we started by looking at the relevant terminology, the reasons for organizing information resources and knowledge assets. Then we went to talk about methods and tools for organizing information resources. Then we looked a bit at classification and subject heading lists. Then introduced library cataloging concepts, and finished with online public access catalogs. So we will continue from there and develop the concept. This is the end of lesson 1. Thank you so much for your attention.
These televised lectures supplement our robust online learning going on our MKU online platform. You can view more on our televised lectures via our online platform. We are in a digital era, and Mount Kenya University knows this. The following are the steps to follow so as to complete your online application. Download the application form from the website www.mku.ac.ke. Attach copies of your academic certificates and ID. Pay the application fees via M-Pesa pay bill number 270988. Your ID is the account number. 2,000 shillings is the charge for a postgraduate. You can also deposit in the bank accounts provided on the website. Then email all the above to apply@mku.ac.ke.